can find a seat, please do so. Welcome, everyone. On behalf of my sister Katrina and niece Helen, I just wanted to thank you so much for being here. I know that many of you traveled very far, and so many people contributed to this celebration of life for Jackie that we just appreciate all of you so much. I'm Ellen. I'm Jackie's aunt. You probably know I look a lot like Katrina, so everyone here seems to know who I am. I'm going to miss my niece so much. It's so hard to look at that slideshow. She's such a beautiful person. The things that I remember about her are her impish grin, which some of you might remember. She just had such a great sense of humor and just really saw life from a different lens. And she also had such a sweetness, her sweet smile. I remember when she was transitioning, she looked at me across the room and I saw this woman appear, and she just turned into this incredibly beautiful woman. And I was so happy for her. From an early age, everyone in our family was just so aware of Jackie's brilliance and her depth. She was just a very deep thinking person. She always had really interesting things to say, even from a young age, just so perceptive. And she was very eloquent too, as you're gonna see in some of her speeches and things today. She just had quite a voice. And I'm glad that she developed and was able to express that in different ways. These qualities really expanded and they strengthened. So that was a beautiful thing to witness. We had a recent family gathering, and my sister Moki and I were just mesmerized by Jackie, basically. We hadn't seen her in a long time, and we both were like, I just fell in love with Jackie, and I'm like, I did too. And we had that last visit together this past November, and I just cherished that memory because she was so warm and delightful. And I wish I could have had more time with her. Sometimes Jackie seems shy and kind of hard to talk to, but when we played games together, that's when I really saw her come alive. And we played Dungeons and Dragons together at the lake in Wisconsin, which was just a blast. I'd never played Dungeons and Dragons before, and Jackie knew every rule, everything that was supposed to happen in that game. She could communicate to us and teach us how to play, and it was really fun. And then we got into Code Names, which is a great game, this past Thanksgiving. And Jackie was just brilliant. She just had amazing answers to the questions and kind of taught all of us how to think differently about the game. And I think it's interesting that she wanted to study game design and created her own game. It all made sense to me how in theater and creative endeavors, her spirit came alive and you could really see who she was. One of my friends said, her life was short, but she lived a full life on her own terms. And I think her parents really nurtured that. They gave her the independence she needed. They let her grow as a free spirit. They accepted who she was, which is a beautiful person. It was easy to do, but there were some hard parts of that journey. And I really respect Katrina and Sean for supporting her all the way through that. They were amazing. So she'll be missed by our extended family, many of who can't be here today, but are hopefully watching this on live stream, which is wonderful. And all our hearts are here in this room. I just want to express, it's just so hard to watch my niece and my sister go through this loss, and I just feel it so much for you guys, and I'm just thinking of you all the time. So just a little bit about today's celebration of life. We're going to hear from anyone in this room who would like to speak about Jackie. But first, Katrina and Helen are going to say a few words, and my son Henry, who's sitting in the front row, who's Jackie's cousin. They were born in the same year. And I hope everyone can join us and share some memories about Jackie. This is such a wonderful turnout of people. So thank you. Katrina?
Oh, wait. I always have to mess up the video recording with some kind of falling objects. Thank you for being here. Creative writing teachers have a mantra, show, don't tell. So I'm going to talk about Jackie that way as much as I can in the next few minutes. I'm amazed by the people gathered here from California, Virginia, Miami, Seattle, Denver, Boston, Indianapolis, Atlanta, I just learned, Albuquerque, and of course, Austin. And so thank you all for being here and all the people who helped make this happen, my friends here in Austin. I am so grateful. So in 2016, Jackie transferred from St. Andrews to Griffin School, where we are now, spending 2.5 years here before graduating in 2019. She spent a lot of time in this very room, which at the time served as an assembly room, classroom, library, and theater. So I also appreciate Griffin School for welcoming us home, because I feel very much at home here. So when I was browsing through all documents, I found a copy of Jackie's Griffin admission application from 2016. And here are a few of their questions and her answers. Question 1, describe any academic areas of particular strength or interest to you. I have a passion and a degree of talent for math and the sciences. Computational science particularly interests me, but I'm not very picky. As for the humanities, I enjoy theater and acting classes because I love interpreting the characters I play. One of the characters she played was Olivia in 12th Night. There's some images that flash from that, and she's also in the poster up there on the back wall. She was in 3 Griffin productions. She Kills Monsters, Changelings, and 12th Night during her 3 years here. So she was very accurate in focusing on her identity as an actress. Describe any academic areas of particular weakness or frustration to you. I often have difficulty writing about myself or applying concepts to my own life. Beyond that, most of my frustration arises from structural issues in a class as opposed to the academic material. Any of you who taught her will understand her fierce criticism of your structural issues. Question 3, tell us about yourself. Describe in detail your nature, interests, and the values that define you. I am a spectator. I'm interested and engaged in the world outside my own view, but I can rarely open up enough to fully participate in it. I am skeptical of others, and am somewhat reluctant to trust and form bonds with them. I live other lives through the mediums of acting and role-playing games. I also play a lot of video games, some would say too many, but through them I have gained an understanding of both the technological aspects of the games and their storytelling. These games have also been one of my more effective ways to foster and maintain connections among my peers. And those peers are here. Everyone who's like younger than me is one of those people. Describe your experience as a student in school over the past 2 years. In what ways has school been engaging, satisfying, challenging? I've had good experiences with analytical and interpretive assignments, and I find more success when working on projects that have clear objectives. For instance, I would far prefer the assignment, Deb, this is for you, is the ghost from Hamlet real? Please explain your reasoning, to create a performance piece involving an aspect of the play Hamlet. There are a lot of English teachers in this room. I've also had a bit of a hard time keeping up in school these past 2 years due to a chronic illness brought on by a mold infestation in a house that my family moved out of earlier this year. It seems to have cleared up, however, and I'm hopeful for better health in the future. And that did happen. She did find better health after we moved out of the famous mold house on 31st Street. After graduating from Griffin, she spent a semester at the New College of Florida, but came home during COVID and enrolled at Austin Community College in the video game design program and moved into student housing with Cord and Tristram. She got a job at the Bananarchy trailer on Guadalupe and 24th Streets, making dipped chocolate frozen bananas, mostly night shifts, walking from her apartment on 26th Street. I remember her telling me about a homeless man who slept on a bench on her street until one night she walked by and didn't see him. Not because he'd miraculously found housing, but because the city had removed the bench. So for an English class at ACC, she wrote an essay in opposition to the Save Austin Now campaign, which was Proposition B, the law that targeted the homeless population by banning sitting, laying, or camping in Austin's public spaces. So I'm going to read to you 2 paragraphs from that essay. She's at the Bananarchy trailer. 3 hours have passed into my shift, legs still itching from last night's insect bites. A man walks underneath the awning to be served. He is fast and young, speaks quickly and vibrantly. He tells me his name, but a customer's name lives only in my mind as long as it needs to. The curtains are drawn, and we begin our dance in the name of capital. The man has no home. I can tell by the bag on his back and the fear in his eyes when I ask for a credit card. He gracefully plucks a wallet from his bag, hesitating, knowing what happens next. A worn card is plunged into the reader and is declined. I pretend not to notice. A banana is plunged into a pot of chocolate, and I call out a name I don't remember. Maybe I'm still married to the theater. I pay for the banana when he leaves. 7 hours have passed into my shift. The students have begun to fly away for the summer, so I sell fewer bananas than my manager would hope. That manager who's here with us today. The security guards the space normally employs are absent. As the business that closes last, it falls on me to lock the gates for the night. There is a lump tucked away on a bench in a shadowed corner. I close all but one gate and turn back to finish cleaning up. I notice the pile of clothes hiding in the darkness, man-shaped and curled into a ball, eyes tight shut. I say words, but they don't mean anything. You good? I shout. There is no response. I'm going to have to close the gates, and I don't want to lock you in. He is asleep. I ask an employee from the Mediterranean Bowl place what to do. They also talk to the lump to no avail, this time with a flashlight. Defeated, I close the last gate, locking some in and some out, and turn back one last time. 2 eyes pierce through the darkness, and our pupils make contact. For a moment, we are both deer in headlights, paralyzing each other, swallowed by our positions in life. I sleep mere blocks from this bench, and he is afraid of me. There is no reason he shouldn't be. Less than a moment later, the lump returns. The bright eyes are lost to me. I will never see him again. I never see any of these people again. Maybe they hide in the forest, away from the white girls and small businesses who cannot stand to see them live. Maybe they can't risk getting caught. In a few weeks, we will have security cards again. Amateur agents of the panopticon will close the gates for me. I do not need to dirty my hands. I no longer ask for credit cards. I just give them bananas. In 2023, Jackie quite famously testified 4 different times against anti-trans bills in front of the House Committee of State Affairs in the Texas legislature. Many of you have watched these brilliant performances, which she composed on her phone while waiting, usually all day and into the night, up in the gallery for the public comments to open. She sat with activists of all positions on the issues, including people hostile to not only her point of view, but to her very existence. I'm going to show you 2 testimonies. Here's one of the first one is against a bill which it would have made doctors and insurance companies liable to any former patient who ever comes to regret their decision to get transitional medical care, an exposure way beyond medical responsibility and malpractice laws in place for any other medical treatment. So Charles, will you please play Poofy Spits Hot Fire for us?
Give us your testimony.
Hello once again. I am Jacqueline Murphy, and for the 3rd time in front of this committee, I am a 22-year-old Austinite representing myself as a trans woman who received gender-affirming care as a minor, and I'm continuing that care today. While detransitioners, rare as they are, should absolutely receive medical care, this bill abandons all flimsy pretense of safeguarding children, instead targeting the insurance coverage of adults and liability coverage of the doctors who provide care for them. I think the arc of history bending towards progress is a comforting idea, but I'm under no illusion about the state of things. If today's bills are put into law, life for trans Texans will become incredibly difficult. I understand that this is the goal. At best, we are pawns in a political plot. At worst, bugs to be squashed. To my trans siblings, as these laws attempt to drive you from the state, I am begging you to live, if only because living is a spit in the face to those that want you gone, even if that life cannot be in the great state of Texas. To this committee, your ideals of personal freedom, medical self-determination, and limited government fall apart when you see an opportunity to target a vulnerable group of people for political gain. There are roughly 100,000 transgender Texans. There are millions more who are friends, family, or co-workers to transgender Texans. You are gambling with the future of conservative philosophy, hoping that the persecution of an outgroup will rally enough bigots to continue your dying, self-serving ideology. If these bills pass, Texas will see the pain your decisions here today inflict, and with any hope, it will begin to hate you as you hate us. I hope everyone involved in the creation of this bill lives a long and healthy life so that you may see your descendants grow to despise you. Thank you.
Senators, any questions for the witnesses? Very well. We'll call up the next panel. You're excused.
I'll never get tired of watching that. Okay, so here's the second one. This one was against a bill that would have made it impossible for a minor to have their gender marker changed on state-issued documents like birth certificates and driver's licenses. 2 years later, just this spring, that bill was passed, not just for minors, but for all Texans. So what Jackie was fighting against 2 years ago has come to pass actually in a more severe and discriminatory form for trans Texans. So the provision that just a few months ago we were talking about was that there was also a retroactive reversion. So had Jackie remained in Texas, she would not have been able to renew her Texas driver's license as a woman, right? So she would have had to have that changed because they would go back to original documents. So sometimes when I'm explaining these bad laws to new people in my life, they ask, well, what difference does a gender marker on a driver's license make? And I ask them to think about what it would be like to go through airport security and show the TSA agent to look like Jackie and to show your TSA agent a driver's license that was marked male. And they think about it and they realize, oh, that would be really awkward. It's like, yeah, that is discriminatory and that is painful. And that is not what we want for our trans brothers and sisters. So I feel like I've become this explainer of the world, of what it's like to have the ease of having all your documents match who you really are. So we call this the Spot of Ink video. Charles, will you play it for us?
Hi, I'm Jacqueline Murphy again, and I'm here representing myself as a trans woman again, this time as a trans woman who had the gender listed on my birth certificate changed from male to female as a minor. Having this change made before the age of 18 made it easier to acquire identification, college enrollment, and ultimately employment as a woman. The benefits for my peace of mind and physical safety cannot be overstated. However, I expect the intent of this bill is entirely divorced from the ability to change the listed gender of a minor's birth certificate. I expect the aim of this bill is to undermine the legitimacy of trans identity as a whole, particularly among children. I understand that the people supporting this bill do not consider me a woman, and I will not legitimize their desire to debate by defending my ability, now and when I was a minor, to know as such. I live my life as a woman. I love, learn, work as a woman, now and back when I had my birth certificate changed. And as much as you might want it to be so, that cannot be taken away from me. Regardless of your justifications, legislating something as minor and reversible as a single letter on a piece of paper is nothing short of malicious. It is indicative of a vapid and empty philosophy that worships power. There are no physical side effects. There are no spaces being accessed. There are no irreversible social repercussions. This is a drop of ink on a document. There is no justification that stands up to scrutiny. This is a power play aimed at making the lives of transgender children as difficult as possible. I hope attempting to dismantle every aspect of trans life, no matter how unobtrusive it is worth it to you. Despite your best efforts, as long as I am here, there will be at least one trans kid in Texas. Be'ezrat Hashem, I know I am not alone. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Senators, any questions for the witnesses? Senator Menendez.
Just one. You said something that was very, the imagery struck me, the drop of ink. It may, you're right, on a piece of paper, just a little bit of ink, but that ink, if this bill passes, will deny you who you are, won't it?
That's correct.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Thank each of the witnesses for your testimony. Is there anyone else?
By it and wanted to reinforce to everyone in that room that he heard her. Okay, I'm going to end my remarks with something I wrote. When Jackie came back from Florida and the pandemic closed in on us, she brought me into her Animal Crossing game. Yeah. We spent hours on her Nintendo Switch upstairs in the new, mold-free 31st Street house, living on her island, Poofnesia. She helped me design a character, build my home, acquire an inventory of possessions, buy outfits, and travel through the gorgeous world she had created. It was an incredibly benign and playful place. One of our favorite things to do was swim at night, diving into the dark ocean, catching luminescent creatures in our little nets, and then rising from the water into the brilliant moonlit night. Another thing we loved was gathering with all the stock Animal Crossing villagers in the town square on Saturday nights, listening to a white dog named KK Slider sing melancholy ballads with a psychedelic background. In the slideshow, you might have caught a few of the still images from the game, the two little avatars. That's Jackie and me. So that summer, Jackie had a breakdown and ended up in Houston for an 8-week psychiatric program, a program I think did her a lot of good. But while she was gone, I wrote a short story, a kind of letter to her, that traced her struggles with depression and identity from her childhood in Miami all the way to the moment we dropped her off at the clinic in Houston. But mostly the story was about Animal Crossing and how she and I used it to connect, to love each other during those long COVID months. These are the last few paragraphs of that story. On the way to my bedroom, locking doors and flicking off lights, I pause at your bedroom door. In the game, there's a little ghost named Wisp that sometimes comes out this time of night. It flits over the hedges and among the trees, trailing a pale phosphorescence. If you startle Wisp, it sheds 5 pieces of its spirit. You can then catch the pieces with your butterfly net, and when you return all 5 to Wisp, it gives you a reward, usually a piece of furniture or a festive rug for your house. I wonder if you feel a little bit like Wisp right now, if the problem is that pieces of your spirit are scattered here in the house, in your dorm room in Florida, or maybe stuck in some older, deeper place from your childhood. The controller is where I had left it, still charged. I push the power button and the game screen lights up. My cottage door opens and I pop out, wearing my tennis skirt, a green tank top, and a wide-brimmed straw hat, the outfit I had on when we last played. A bright swath of stars is emerging from a bank of clouds. I pull out my Animal Crossing phone. Should I summon your avatar? Could we buy new outfits or pick oranges or pretend to play ping pong? But I'm not skilled enough to manipulate 2 controllers. Instead, I skip along the beach, turn at the lighthouse, and climb up onto the cliffside walk that leads to the village square. Evenly spaced carriage lights illuminate the path. Trees and flower beds appear, shimmering with moisture, a sign that it had rained earlier. I cross a bridge over the river where we sometimes fished for trout, and head up to the koi ponds, which look out over your rose garden. Your gold roses have propagated. There's a small fortune in bells, the Animal Crossing currency, drooping on their stems. I sit on a bench and watch the heavy-bodied orange carp dozing. A few fireflies dance above the hedges, but I don't bother taking out my net to catch them. I wait for Wisp. A long time passes. Clouds begin to mass overhead, obscuring the stars. Perhaps it will rain again. I pull out a do-it-yourself ocarina from my inventory, a wind instrument I had made out of lumps of clay dug from the ground with a shovel you had given me as an early gift. I press A on the controller, and my hand lifts the ocarina to my mouth to play a note. I press again and again, generating a broody melody that resembles the song the white dog played the night before we took you to Houston. Perhaps there was only one melody here in Poofnesia. It looks like Wisp wasn't going to show up. Maybe even here, despite the gold roses and the money trees, you still can't get what you most long for. I'm going to ask my nephew. No, who am I asking? I'm asking my daughter, Helen. I'm going to ask my daughter, Helen, to come up and speak with you, and then she will invite my nephew Henry up to come speak with you. Thank you.
Sorry. Hi. Okay, hello everybody. Thank you so much for coming. I'm Jackie's older sister, Helen, which I believe most of you probably know. So Jackie was born less than a year after me. She was my Irish twin, and we spent our early days running around the hallways of a Northeast boarding school, convincing my parents' students to give us ice cream from the dining hall freezer. During our childhood in Baltimore, Miami, and Austin, we were inseparable. I'm going to tell you some stories that demonstrate our bond, which had such a significant impact on my life. So usually, it's the older sibling who behaves better at the doctor. We were at our Miami pediatrician for our yearly vaccines, and Jackie went first, sitting quietly while she received her shots. When it was my turn, a team of nurses braced for impact, gathering in this small patient room in the midst of a chaotic storm of limbs and screams. I can still remember my sister. She stepped forward, holding out my buckskin toy horse in an attempt to comfort me. I paused in the midst of my fit, accepted the toy from her, and thanked her for her assistance. I then beamed the toy at the doctor and made a run for it out into the parking lot. So, like many Miami children, much of our childhood was spent in the water. As the children of a head of school, we spent many a summer visiting the various elite country clubs of Miami, Florida. On one such occasion at the Riviera, we were playing in the pool with the other kids as our parents chatted and drank champagne. A boy began roughhousing with Jackie, a game that was never her favorite, and ended up holding her head under the water for a bit too long. I dove under the water to free her and pulled her out of the pool. After checking that she was okay and leaving her with my mother, I returned to the edge of the pool to hunt down the boy. As you do. Spotting him near the shallow end, I proceeded to launch myself into the water, landing on top of him. My poor father abandoned his conversation in champagne and threw himself in after me to pull me off. Jackie affectionately termed my particular form of justice as Hammurabi style. We had different ways of doing it, but the message remained the same. No one messed with our sister. But I always admired her way of doing things. She was calm and offered me this quiet comfort. When we were kids and couldn't sleep, we would often crawl into bed together in the early hours of the morning. We'd read books like Diary of a Wimpy Kid out loud to each other. I can still smell the tear-free shampoo in her hair, feeling it tickle my chin as she leaned against my shoulder. Well over a decade later, she gifted me a video game for Christmas this last year. Some of you here today might know it, but it was one of Jackie's favorites. It was called What Remains of Edith Finch. Now, I am not nearly as skilled or experienced with video games as Jackie. She has saved me numerous times over the course of my life with her tech skills. But she assured me with this present that it required no particular skill with video game controls, that any idiot could figure out how to navigate this game. I lasted about 20 minutes before I had to yell for help. Over the course of the video game, your character is transformed into an octopus tentacle-like sea monster. During this part of the digital journey, I had somehow managed to get myself stuck under a table. She came into my room at the sound of my yell for help and burst into laughter when she saw what I'd gotten myself into. After letting me know just how unusual my predicament was, she hit a few keys on the computer and dislodged me from my prison. We played the next remaining 7 or so hours of time on the game together, her looking over my shoulder to make sure I stayed out of any more trouble. We never finished the game. I still have about 15 minutes left. I'm not really sure how I can do it without her. Jackie, you were the most intelligent, creative, and compassionate human being. I will miss our late night conversations standing at your computer while you showed me your latest artwork and we discussed anything and everything. I will always remember how beautiful you were, with Dad's coloring and our mother's jawline. I could not be more proud of you and everything you were. I love you and I thank you for being my sister. Henry.
Hi, everybody. First, I want to say thank you to everyone who is showing support, consolation to my family by attending this service. Secondly, I want to introduce myself. My name is Henry, and like many of you, I'm here to celebrate and honor the life of my cousin Jackie. I want to share some of the unforgettable memories I have of my time with her in remembrance of her valuable presence in my life. Even though I spent less time with Jackie than I have with other members of the family my age, often due to a greater distance between my household and the Murphys, the few moments I was able to share with her are probably the most memorable and cherished ones that I've experienced with my extended family ever. Playing an amazing Dungeons & Dragons campaign with her as the Dungeon Master, there was one point where my mom and the Murphys, we were taking on a bunch of orcs, or goblins, or whatever. They were tiny. But Jackie told me, well, you know, you're going to have to get a pretty big roll to take out this one goblin. You got a pretty small sword. And I rolled like an 18 or a 19. And I was like, well, what happened? And she was like, you cut its head off. But, yeah. Also, laughed too much while watching her and Helen's puppet shows. I was just on the floor, and that was not on purpose. I fell from the attic of my dad's cabin while I was playing pretend with her once. And of course, taking a bite out of Jackie's hair, thinking it was cotton candy. I was 5. Okay, give me a break. And which I will never forget, and it seems like most of my family hasn't forgotten about it either. I can't imagine why. I'm okay. The point is, every encounter I had with my cousin Jackie was special. It was a special one, and I'm glad I had. Even when I talked to her on the phone for the first time in forever, this was a couple years ago, and a car ran right into a utility pole directly across from our house and knocked it over, ending the call. It's great to be able to recall my first conversation with Jackie in years because of such a crazy experience. I'm so grateful to be able that I got to see my cousin in person one more time last year during our family's trip to Oregon for Thanksgiving, because it allowed me to thank her for all the awesome and crazy times that we had together and tell her how much she mattered to me as a member of my family. And I'm glad, but also sort of heartbroken that I got to do it again here today. I love you, Jackie, and I'm so thankful I got to have you as my cousin. Even though my time with you was short, every second of it was a gift. And now I'd like to read a poem by Elizabeth Fry in Jackie's honor. Do not stand at my grave and weep. I am not there. I do not sleep. I am 1,000 winds that blow. I am the diamond glints on snow. I am the sun on ripened grain. I am the gentle autumn rain. When you awaken in the morning's hush, I am the swift uplifting rush of quiet birds in circled flight. I am the soft stars that shine at night. Do not stand at my grave and cry. I am not there. I did not die. Goodbye, my dear cousin. I hope that you're in a better place. And we're going to have some of Jackie's friends come up here to speak about the time they had with her.
Of course. Thank you. A couple of years ago, Tristram and Jackie and I were living in an apartment just west of UT. We were approaching the end of our very busy semesters, and I had a particularly terrible week coming up. My professors had decided to pack in every assignment, test, and project they could into 1 week, and I had decided to spend some quiet days of solitude focused at my parents' house. After finishing my trial, I returned to our apartment, delighted to see my beautiful friends. I opened the door, and the sight that I saw terrified me. Our house had been broken into. Every drawer, cabinet, and door in our kitchen had been flung apart like each harbored state secrets. But see, there's 3 things that you should know about Jackie when it came to the kitchen. 1, thawing frozen sealed chicken in hot water was one of the cardinal sins. 2, if she had been there in the last 2 or 3 hours, there was going to be water on the floor. And 3, doors were merely obstacles that got in the way of Raisin Bran. Now, the first 2, I don't mind. I can poison myself with bad chicken all I want. She can't stop me. 2, wet feet become dry feet with some evaporation. But 3 was a problem, because that kitchen had a lot of cabinets, and they were just high enough that when I was cooking, I could not see them, but just low enough that when I was cooking, I would hit my head on them. After about the 3rd time of slamming my head on that door, I went to Jackie and asked, "Are you trying to kill me? You're doing a good job." Now, after that point, the cabinets didn't stay open as much. And that might seem like the smallest, most trivial thing, but to me, it represented who Jackie was. Because despite everything that Jackie was dealing with and the weight on her shoulders that really only she knew the true depth of, she never stopped caring. She cared about her family, about her friends, about equality and justice, and about her art. Despite everything, she kept going. She kept creating. She worked for 2 years to make a game for a community she adored, pushing herself, knowing she would never make a cent off of it. She spent 800 hours in Godot, 2,000 hours in Sprite, and 7,000 hours in RPG Maker, all tools for creating art and games. Granted, a third of that was probably spent asleep, but I think Jackie knew better than anybody what life was truly about. It wasn't about winning or status or money. It was about being true to yourself and what mattered, and doing what mattered to you. I found this incredibly self-evident in her intelligence and composure. We've played D&D together almost every weekend for 11 years. And we have had every conceivable argument about the most petty, unimportant, minor things. And I cannot once think of a scenario where Jackie was truly mad. She knew better than anybody what was worth getting angry over. And a tiff between friends was not one of those things. She was willing to meet you where you were when it came to communicating her ideas. She had the most complex, deep vocabulary that I've known of my friends, ranging from words like triumvirate to poggers. It may not feel like she's here with us any longer, but we would not be the people that we are today without having known Jackie. So be kind to yourself and live well for her and for you. Avery? Or Avery?
I'm probably shaking, and I apologize. This is probably one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. My friendship with Jackie began when I was in the 7th grade, and she the 8th. I don't have the memory anymore of that initial meeting, of how we got from point A, of having no clue regarding the other's existence, to point B, of her inviting me over to Dungeons and Dragons at her house across the street from the middle school, the Mold House. But it did happen. But back then, I had no idea how much I really needed it. My earliest memories of her are of all of us sitting at the Murphys' dining room table, all yelling at each other in unbridled glee and laughing like there was no tomorrow. And it was something that eventually wedged its way perfectly into my schedule once my classes ended at 3:45 on Fridays. Cord has phrased the summary, at least in an earlier draft, of our group's dynamic perfectly by calling it the married couple of all D&D groups. But for me, things have always gone a little bit deeper than that. As someone who's always struggled to create friendships, that's always had most of the ones that I've made not end well. My friendship with Jackie and with everyone else in our shared group, it was seemingly unbreakable, safe. If you had a problem, you'd address it. If something someone else was doing bothered you or worried you, you'd speak up. And things would always manage to work themselves out in the end because we all loved each other enough to want to sort through things and not let the drama get to us, her included. She was incredibly kind, and she was never afraid to speak her mind, the trait I've always admired the most about her. I don't know if I'd be here without the group that she helped create. Another thing that I loved about her was, from the very beginning, was her sense of humor, which I'm sure you've all witnessed yourselves, given how damn good it was. In the depths of my text messages with my mother, there's a photo of us with 2 other friends from the middle school UK trip that we both went on. While in Edinburgh, she'd somehow gotten it into her head that she wanted to collect hats and then stack them on top of each other. So she did just that. I won't share the photo out of respect for her pre-transition, but I'll need you to visualize this in your minds the best that you can. In the photo, we all stand in a line, the 2 of us in the middle, me on the left and her on the right, and then our 2 other friends standing on the outside. 3 of us, except for her, are all wearing a hat with the face of a buffalo on it, with brown little flaps coming down the sides. But she wore one of those English soldier hats that looks like a fuzzy black tube, with the buffalo hat on top of it, with those little brown flaps coming down the sides. And then on top of that, a plaid flat cap. It was probably a whole 1.5 feet, 2 feet of just solid hat, and she wore the most smug smirk while wearing it. I still grin like an idiot whenever I see the photo, because I think it really does go to show how funny she was from the get-go. Since then, she's made me laugh so hard I can't breathe more times than I could possibly count. She lit up my life, all of our lives, I'm sure, in a way that I can't help but long for now. Jackie was an inspiration to me, though I'm not sure she ever realized how deeply she affected those around her. She was bold and unafraid to speak her mind, eloquent and passionate in every sense of the words. In every speech I watched her make, speaking at the Capitol to advocate for trans rights, she had always blown me away with the sheer depth of how much she cared. She was bold and unafraid to live as who she really was, all throughout her transition. And most recently, I remember speaking to her and helping her weigh her options as she was making her choice to attend Noman in California to finish her BFA. For once she was nervous and had all of this deliberation of, should I? Should I not? Would it be worth it? What's the right choice? But ultimately, she took the step forward. Jackie was humble, and she always put those around her first. So I was so, so proud of her that she was finally making a choice to uplift herself and to choose what she wanted and what she loved. In the weeks before her passing, I was finally able to get a job where I lived in Iowa City after 2 arduous months of searching. And in this store where I started to work at, there was a paper mobile with multicolor cutouts of rats in it. The second I saw it, I knew I wanted to get it for her, to ship it to her as some sort of surprise warming gift for her dorm, since she'd just moved to California away from everybody else, and I had grown to associate rats with her since she had 3 of her own for a long time. I even got to hold one once. It was sick. I still have the photos. But by the time I'd gotten the money to get it and send it to her, it was too late. I think of her all the time. I think of that mobile all the time, even though I sold it 2 weeks later. Maybe it's all the bargaining, but there's a little voice in the back of my mind that wonders if that damn mobile could have made a difference. But I'll never know. But it does serve as a reminder to hold the people you love close and to live the days with them to the absolute fullest. Internalize their smiles, their voices, and their laughs, their quirks, and even their faults. Because you never know how long you have with them. But those memories that you created and the love that you have will stay with you forever. I love you, Jackie. Thank you.
All right. Tess, can y'all hear me? Okay, good. Okay. And my name is Chris. If you were a friend of Jackie's online, you might know me as Luigi on account of this. Okay. Jacqueline was my best friend and my first love. She was such an incredible and vibrant bright spot in my life. It's impossible to narrow down a favorite memory, but I'll try to choose a couple. When I first met Jackie, she remarked frequently about her love for rats, but how she never had any. About a year into our relationship, over the course of, it couldn't have possibly been more than a week, maybe a couple days, we decided to go ahead and change that. I don't know how many of y'all have had rats or know a lot about them. They don't require a lot. They can eat most anything. Don't require complex habitats, and frankly, most of them become food at some point in their life. Jackie's rats were by far the luckiest in the world. I had access to a mansion of a cage. It's as tall as me. 3 of them. You could fit like 50 in there. Healthcare that would make many people jealous. At so many trips to the veterinary clinic for a rat. And a constant schedule of outside time while Jackie cleaned and rearranged their cage to keep it fresh and interesting. Endless love, care, and attention to detail was paid to them. In fact, Jacqueline applied this love and care to everyone in her life, no matter how significant their roles. Countless times we would walk down Guadalupe Street, and she would greet people she had met only once or twice while working at the banana stand. She did remember them, at least a few. Often they were homeless, and she had such a great compassion for them. Jackie was so informed about the world and so intelligent in the ways she discussed it. Her incredible passion for wanting what was right for others was reinforced by an impressive vocabulary, as you all know, and a sharp mind. The moments I was most proud of her were when she spoke at the Capitol building. And even though I knew she was filled with discontent and anger at our government, she was able to compose herself and speak beautifully against people that plainly believed that she should not exist. Despite these feelings, Jacqueline was the most kind-hearted and beautiful person I've ever met. No combination of words in the world could begin to make this better. The world is worse without her in it. But these memories remind me of how good she was to a world that constantly battled against her. I aspire to possess a fraction of her love and compassion. I love you, Jacqueline Murphy.
Thank you, family and friends of Jackie, who have shared so beautifully. The next part of your program is Invitation to Share, which I am hoping will invite anyone who wants to speak of Jackie or say something to come up to the mic. I'm going to start with Jackie's Aunt Fran. And Aunt Fran is going to read something written by her cousin Abby, who is in Guatemala right now in a language immersion program and would absolutely be here if she could. And when we moved to Albuquerque this last year, it was a wonderful opportunity for Abby and Jackie, who had not spent very much of their childhood together, to get to know one another. So thank you, Fran, for doing this for us.
Talking about Jackie is a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing because I get to think and think and think and relive memories with Jackie. These are my words. It's a curse because I'm unable to express her brilliance, her ferociousness, her wicked sense of humor. This is for my daughter, Abby. For those who love Jackie and who Jackie loves, Helen, Katrina, Jackie, the three of you have and continue to shape the ways I understand love. Your courage and vulnerability through change, your commitment to and ferocity in loving each other, to remain open and willing to be changed by each other and the world. You are testimony to the power of love. All of Jackie's friends, I know you only through the love Jackie so clearly has for you, and also the ways that Sean would light up and tell me all about you whenever I asked him about how Jackie was doing. He spoke of your friendship, your community, your love for each other in admiration, wonderment, of the bonds being deep, the love total, the homes you find and make with each other and are for each other. I do grieve not getting to meet all of you. Each of your relationships with Jackie is forever. Henry, would you mind coming up here for a moment? Oh, and move the screen down, please.
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
I'm here for a reason, guys.
Up. Sorry. Oh, I don't know.
There's no up.
Okay.
Might be a go to the history.
Okay.
Might have deleted something.
Okay. Oh dear.
Oh, dear.
Oh dear.
Yeah,
I'm just going to
There we go.
read. Yeah. Hold on. One moment.
turn around.
Yeah, turn around. Nothing to see here.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to just improv here, and I'm sorry about that. Thank you, Henry. Okay. Oh, thank you so ever so much. Okay. For Jackie. Jackie, I lose my breath every time I realize I won't see you enter a room again, or hear you laugh again, or look up to find your eyes, or be in awe of the way your attention, your patience, your voice, your care changes a room, a mind, a heart, a soul. And yet I can't speak of you as being in the past because you continue to change this world into something more possible through the ways you continue to shape me. And I imagine all of us who are lucky enough to love you. You are with me almost all of the time, encouraging and provoking and lovingly nudging me to extend myself towards deeper, more expansive possibilities, to remain curious and compassionate, to feel what is here, to hold myself accountable to what is found, and to remain open to being changed by and for this world. I continue to look to you to understand things beyond what anyone is saying, to illuminate the thing behind or underneath or just out of sight of what the room or a person is talking about, beyond what we are willing to acknowledge or consider. Jackie, you continue to remind me to listen and discern, to recognize and betray the violence of convenience and disposability, to betray the lie that safety is found in silos of self-interest. You continue to remind me that there is such a thing as courage. There is always a choice to relinquish the myths we've been given so that we may reach towards our only hope, each other. The last time I saw you, our families were having dinner together. There was a moment in conversation when you or I said something quiet enough or between the lines enough that it wasn't heard by others, but we heard each other and looked up to find each other's eyes and laughed. I'm still looking up to find your eyes, to remember that I am not alone, or let you know that you are not alone, or both. Jackie, I love you. I miss you terribly and feel so wildly lucky to be someone who gets to grieve you, because the shape of that grief is also the shape of my love for you, ever-changing and profound. For all of us, I wish so badly to be there. For all who love Jackie and whom Jackie loves. Jackie, may we always hear your voice. May we always look up to your eyes, to find your eyes. May we always remember your laughter. May we always remember that we are not alone in loving you or being loved by you. May we find our way through change with courage and vulnerability. May we always be in awe of the ways you shape this world into something more possible, which is to say, may we all be a testimony to the power of your love.
Thank you, Francesca. Okay, so the mic is open. Is there anyone else who would like to come to the podium? And make sure we know who you are.
Hi, my name is Adrian Almy. I have been friends with Jackie for 12 years. And we were 12 years old the first time we met each other. It was the week before we started middle school. I was one of two people that the school had sort of asked to help Jackie integrate into our community. And I remember immediately how funny they were and just how authentic they were to the person that they wanted to be. We shared the same advisory through that year, and at one point someone had created a pen and paper game about countries, and Jackie got very into it and describing her country of Schelvenstein and wrote a theme song about how it was an oil-based monarchy that lived off of the backs of the working class. This was when she was 12 years old. And I think it just goes to show how she always knew what she believed in, and she made sure that that was part of everything that she did. Jackie's also the person who introduced me to Dungeons and Dragons for the first time. A game that I played at her table for 4 years, and then I started running that table for the next 6. And the way that she would write stories and characters was always so evocative. And I don't think that I would have ever started writing, or I don't think that I would be the same person as a creative if it hadn't been for her. I think that some element of who I am will always be defined by my interaction with her. And I've seen her do that for so many people, whether it's writing or visual arts or game design or just the way that she interacted with community. And the world will always be better for having had her. Thank you.
Okay, these are hard acts to follow, but anyone else want to join us? Yes. Good.
Hi, my name is Bree. I wrote a lot of stuff. I won't say all of it. I'm certain many of you don't know who I am, but Jackie would tell me about a lot of you. We would stay up late texting or calling with Mitch, who's here today too, and about what's going on like in her life, and often about like her frustrations and disappointments, about like family and friends and boyfriends. But it always struck me how in describing the bad, she always made it clear how much she genuinely loved and cared about. Cared about the people that she talked about. She constantly challenged me to be a smarter and kinder and a funnier person. I wanted to be a comedian for a while, and I always told her that how much funnier she was than me. And she always said it wasn't true, but I always knew that she was. And I'll never be the same for having knowing her, and I wouldn't want that to change. I always want to carry a piece of her with me. I know every time I do something that reminds me of her, I am so happy that it happened. Me and Jackie met in a residential Menninger that Katrina mentioned around 5 years ago. She tried to befriend me first, but I was in a bad mood, so I kind of brushed it off. Later, a few days later, I was watching TV, and there's a big window next to the TV room, and I noticed her wandering around kind of aimlessly, and so I, just on a hunch, I didn't know her, but I switched it to JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. And yeah, anybody that knows her knows that worked instantly, and she came in and watched with me and started talking to me, and I'm so happy she did. And the first time I really got endeared to her was that we played a Dungeons and Dragons campaign in the therapy group, and there was so little to do there, but there were these little computers, and she was drawing pixel art of her character, and I thought it was so cool that she was able to do something like that in a place like that, just something so amazing. And she always inspired me to do art. I just did it because I wanted to be like her. And sorry. Right. So at the time that I met her and when we had been watching JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, they didn't have a anime for the 6th part, which was her favorite. She told me it was her favorite a lot. And there was a live stream event. This is one of my favorite memories of her, where from Japan they were having all the voice actors like talk about it, and she had a hunch that they would announce the 6th part there. And I offered to watch it with her because it was at like 3 a.m. that this was happening, and she was paying like $50 to watch it. And she let me, which I'm glad. But it went on for very long, and the subtitles for all the Japanese were in English, and they were auto-generated, and they were terrible. You really couldn't understand anything they were saying. And she fell asleep very quickly, like 20 minutes in. And but I stayed awake for like the next hour or two just to see if they would announce it. And there was a part where these like lights started showing up, and so I started yelling at my computer screen to try and wake her up, and not so loud that I would wake up my roommates, but I was just trying to make sure she could see. And she woke up just in time to see an infamous picture of the main character of Part 6, Jolene, come onto the screen, and she was so excited. And I was so glad that I was there during that. Because for the past 5 years, I've told, like, our time together was mostly online, which, but I've told, like, people about her, like, video games and her art for the past 5 years, and that story about, because there was another time that we stayed up for 6 hours playing her video game German, and I never, I tried to like video games when I was a teenager, but it was never really my thing. But I really liked that video game because everything I did in it, I could see a little piece of her, and she would tell me about drawing it or how it reminded her of her favorite streamer, Germa, and yeah, you're right. I never fully understood what was so magical about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. It wasn't really, it wasn't really my thing. But I watched all of it for her, and she really made it really magical. Whenever she would draw a picture of the characters, it made it special, and I only got to be there for a fifth of her life, but I'm really glad for each moment I got with her. She was, I always felt like she was the best person I knew, and I never said that to her because I was so scared of scaring her off, but she was always inspiring me, and she just by being a very kind person to everybody that she knew, but also just by like telling me when I was being a dick, she would one time I was chewing out a nurse, and she waited until after, but she was like, "You were kind of mean to that nurse just now," and I was like, "Oh, you're right." And she was always coming up with better punchlines for my jokes. I make comics now, and I remember one time I was making a comic about Seinfeld, and she came up with a punchline for it after I had already finished it. And I can't say the punchline she came up with here because it's inappropriate, but it was so much better than mine that I redid the ending, and it was so much better because of her. And I started doing comics. I started drawing and stuff just because I wanted to be like her. But I don't know. I would say I love you to her. But I would always try to say it less than I always thought it, because I didn't want to say it so much that it would lose its meaning, or that I wanted her to know that I meant it every single time. And she texted me in Mitch the night that she passed away, and she just said, "Love y'all," and that was, and I don't think I got to say it back in time, but I wish I could say it to her again. I love you, Jackie. I love you so much, and I will always love you. You will always inspire me, and you will always make up a piece of me that I never want to lose. Even like the memories I can't name explicitly, I know they inform every part of me. She taught me a trick for dealing with PTSD, where if you have an onset of the sort of dissociation or whatever, you just walk outside no matter where you are in the middle of whatever's happening. And it worked very well for me after my symptoms got worse. But ever since, it's kind of stopped working. I breathe the air, and I still think of her, and I still miss her. And she was really one of a kind. She genuinely really cared about everything that she talked about, because I meet a lot of like politically active people, and a lot of them don't really give a shit about anything that they say or like the people that they talk about. And I was like that when I met her. I think I was a very sort of flippant person about the issues of the world, and she just really cared so much about everyone she met, and people that don't have the same advantages as her, because I don't know, she never saw herself as advantaged. Even though she went through so much, she never saw herself as unlucky. She saw herself as very privileged, which I thought was noble of her, because she did deal with far too much in her life, and she still fought so hard for people that had it worse. And she saw so much wrong with the world and took it as an invitation to make it better. And I think too many people fail to take that as the lesson, that you have to make it better. And she definitely did. And I hope that she can be my lesson to do that. And she was the greatest person I've ever met. And I always hope, or I will always hope that I can be like her. I love you, Jackie.
Thank you, Bree. When I think about the good that Houston program did for Jackie, I think about the friends she made there. Okay, anyone else? Yeah, great.
Hi, I'm Nick. I was sorry, a little nervous. I was one of her online friends. I never had a chance to meet her in person, but I was one of her many online friends. She knew a lot of people, people from all across the country and world. Had friends in Brazil, Canada, Washington, Tennessee. I'm probably forgetting some places as well. I apologize. I myself is from California. And I just, she meant a lot to everyone. It's clear here in the room that she left such an impact on everyone here. And there was a lot of love that she had and a lot of love that she gave. And she was also one of the bravest people I have known. And that type of bravery, I think, can be inspiring to all of us. She wasn't afraid to be herself in a world that did not want her to be herself. She was someone who was willing to fight not only for herself, but for other people, no matter the cost. And I think that kind of bravery is you don't see that. You just don't see that. And I guess just to kind of emphasize just how much she meant to a lot of people. I think about her, I think about all the times it'd be about around midnight, maybe past that. And being one of our online friends, there'd be a group of all of us in a voice chat or watching something. It'd be Seinfeld, Dragon Ball, Better Call Saul. There'd be all sorts of things. And I wasn't always there. I wasn't always able to be there till midnight or later. But I saw just how much she really met so many people. And as other people have mentioned before, she was just she was so funny. She knew really how to banter. She like no one else. Like, yeah, see, she really knew how to banter. And you know, I think about all the times she roasted me plenty of times, and it was great. You know, I helped keep me humble a little bit, and you know, I also think about a lot of the so bad it's good things we liked, a lot of inside jokes of that, and I also got to see all of the blood and sweat and tears that she had put not only in her art, in her friendships, in her projects as well. And I know she's gone, but I think she'll live on in all of us because she was just so inspirational. And, you know, she was a great friend. I had only known her for about 3 years, but in those 3 years, feels like longer, but also kind of just feels like yesterday. And, you know, from me and all of the people who are maybe watching, I believe this is being streamed, who are watching, we truly loved her, and we will not forget her. And we will do everything we can to try and carry her spirit and her passion and everything that she stood for. We will do what we can to just try and carry that. And I know everyone else here in this room will do the same thing. And thank you for having me speak. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, going once. All right, Drew.
Hey everyone, I'm Drew. I was a childhood friend of Helen's and Jackie's and Marissa. We grew up together. I have a lot of memories at their house, on their trampoline and pool. And I just remember as a kid, you know, how clever and witty and kind and special of a person Jackie was. And I remember even, you know, as a elementary schooler, I remember thinking that there was something special about her and that she was going to do great things. And then you moved away, and I hadn't seen her in a while, but watching the video of her at speaking before the Senate, I just was blown away by what a brilliant, eloquent person she had become, and I was so proud. And I just want to say how special she was and how grateful I am to have had her in my life. Thank you.
That was Miami in the house, by the way. It's always fun when Miami's in the house. All right.
Hi, my name's Mitch. I'm another friend of Jackie's from Menninger from about 5 years ago. Usually pretty shy. I hate public speaking, and don't even know what I was going to say when I walked up here, but I just knew I had to say something, and I think just me being up here is evidence of the impact that she's had as a friend on me and so many of us here. Getting to know Jackie was inspiring in so many ways. When I was a manager, I didn't really connect too deeply with anybody. I just kind of stayed at arm's length and did the therapy sessions and whatever. but she reached me through the medium that I know best, which was gaming. And she did it in a way that I'd never seen anyone perform so well, both narratively and mechanically. She just had this brilliance about her. And it wasn't just that she was brilliant, it was that she could use that brilliance to express herself and to help other people express themselves. So I've definitely just grown a lot just from knowing her, just from seeing what she's done. It's inspired me a great deal, and I'll never forget her.
Thank you. Okay. Wow, that was wonderful. I could sit here all day long, actually, and listen to, especially as Jackie's young friends talk about her. I want to say some thank yous. So thank you all for coming, for being here. Thank you, Marissa, slideshow playlist. Thank you, Charles, our live streaming videographer. Thank you, Angie, for being our Griffin liaison. And a kind of remote thank you to Adam Wilson, who's in the Appalachian Trail with his wife, Carolyn, who was Jackie's head of school while Jackie was here, has been the head of school since 1996. And a great supporter of Sean's as well, as a fellow head of school here in the Austin Independent School community. And I chose this date to maximize the ability of Jackie's friends to get here. And so the few people who couldn't be here, like the Wilsons and Abby and some of my one of my sisters, that was the price we paid for having all these wonderful young people. Not really a price, but I amazingly couldn't find a day in which everybody could come. I also want to thank my sister Ellen for all her graciousness, but also for the beautiful program that you are holding in your hands. She designed that program. She is a former graphic artist turned librarian, and for everything else that she does for our family. And I want to thank Jess Chapin and Shelby Goodrum, who were my people on the ground here, because I've been in Albuquerque until yesterday. And all the flowers, the beautiful flowers, the arrangement of the tables, the transformation of the space, the wonderful refreshments and beverages that are going to be our next step, and working with Griffin, and the actual physical design of the program, the physical printing of the program, and the napkins and plates in the back, which, don't forget to take a look at those napkins and plates. Lainey Goodrum helped us create them, but they feature a little art by Jackie of a rat that she designed for her video game. So you may find them too precious to eat off of. I'm not sure about that. But Jess and Shelby and Ashley are my people here, and among many other friends. So I'm very glad you're here. When you leave Griffin after our little reception, everyone here is invited up to the Mazzettis for dinner, another very, very important family to us. Cord spoke, and his parents, Mary and Rob, are hosting a dinner, and truly, truly, everyone is invited. The address to their house is at back of the program at the bottom, 512 Furlong Drive. It's about 20 minutes west in a really beautiful part of Austin. So if you're also here in Austin, sort of for the first-ish time, it's a beautiful drive, and they have a beautiful home. And so they went and got barbecue from Salt Lick, which is a famous Texas barbecue joint. And that barbecue was a gift from our dear friend Josh Blumenthal, who could not be here today, but gave me that. Actually, when Sean died, Josh gave me the gift certificate. We weren't able to use it, but we're going to use it tonight. So some good old-fashioned Texas barbecue at Mary and Rob's house, and I please hope that you will come. And you can come up like right away, or if you have to stop at your hotel or your home and come up, we're going to make our way up there, and we will be waiting for you. And as a chance to continue our day together. So I also am going to have Marissa when I stop speaking, Marissa will put the slideshow and the music back on. There's iced tea, water, snacks. There's also Prosecco. Tom, are you in charge of the Prosecco? Okay, I need to be handed a glass of Prosecco as I am walking out of the room. Okay. I know most of you signed the guest book, and we had asked the young people to bring stickers, and so the stickers are there, and I'm really thankful for that. If you left a sticker, we'll make sure the sticker finds a home among Jackie's things. But I brought something for you too, which is a table in the back corner next to the waters of Jackie's collection of plushies. And they are not, as I said earlier, not like Snoopy or Winnie the Pooh. I'm not sure what they are, but I have a feeling some of you do. So I don't want to take any of them home. So please, please take one. Even if you don't know what it is, take it. Or ask one of her friends, what is this? But I know, please browse one, please take one. I know she would want them to find good homes. Okay, so thank you. There's that glass of Prosecco. Here it comes, here it comes. Okay, please enjoy some social time together, and thank you again all for coming.